The following podcast contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
The Showdown Podcast with Corey and Vic. A debate on what movie is better, Corey's choice versus Vic's choice. They each plead their case and try to destroy the others. It's a combat of subjective opinion. I'm Brad Scott, your impartial judge, and as always, my say is final. Welcome to the Showdown Podcast. This week's episode is our Robin Williams Celebration of Life exhibition match featuring guest official Bob East. In the Black Lives Matter corner, Vic Genie in a bottle of Port 45 Miller with his movie Aladdin, and his opponent in the All Lives Matter corner, Corey Wet Dreams Make Me Come Miller and his film What Dreams May Come. I'm your host, Brad Scott. Let's get ready to podcast. Welcome to the Showdown Podcast. All right, this is our Robin Williams Celebration of Life exhibition match. So it is all for charity. Who's the name of the stripper we got over here in the kitchen? All right, we are today joined by I think is this the first returning guest?
No.
No.
Who
else?
was the first?
Whitcliffe.
Oh, that's
right.
but
He filled in.
okay, yeah, that's true. Well, I forgot because those episodes were so bad because you didn't have me.
Yeah.
So Bob East is here.
Hi.
How are you, Bob?
I'm
Way to
great.
bury
Glad to be here.
Bob East, if you guys remember from he's part of actually one of our most legendary episodes, which was our Weekend at Bernie's Police Academy episode, in which Corey infamously argued Weekend at Bernie's as a drama.
I still stand by it.
And won. Yep, that's the showdown.
Not on that laurel.
If you remove all the jokes.
You remove all the jokes and all the sight
comedy
gags,
zany
the music, recast it. It's a full-blown drama. And Bob East is the man that created the Showdown logo.
Yes.
Bob
Both of
East,
them?
and because
Both of
he is part of Bob East Art, which is Beast.
Artofbeast.com.
Artofbeast.com. And he's also made a movie that we will talk about later.
Yep.
That starred the two worst actors on the show. That starred probably stretch. Although I did see Corey in a lot of promo things, unless he went
I'm in
and
it, so
dubbed.
we're the three worst actors.
So yeah, the one guy who actually has theater training was not in the movie. But maybe later. So we'll talk about all that good stuff later. We have two movies today. Corey, why are we doing these two?
We are doing this too because if you're listening on the day that it comes out, it is Robin Williams' birthday.
Mm-hmm. And Vic knew how to play the game. He went with Aladdin. Corey went with a movie I'd never heard of.
Naturally.
Which actually, by the way, brings me to a little segment I like to call, what do we call this? Brad's History.
You don't even know the name of your own segment.
You forget the name of it every time.
I know. It's Brad's History. That's right. And now it's time for Brad's History. Aladdin, one of my favorite animated. I put it right up there with Lion King. Probably my favorite movie until Lion King came around as a kid. Love the movie. Have the soundtrack on CD. Robin Williams, one of my favorite people ever. Even had the guy from Full House. That was a nice added bonus. I've never seen What Dreams May Come. This has been Brad's History. So yeah, it's going to come down to you really selling me on this, Corey. You're gonna.
All right.
You've got some work to do. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna. You know what? Since you have the most work to do, I'm gonna give you the coin toss. What is it?
All right, heads.
Siri, flip a coin.
It's tails.
Vic, you can go first, or you can defer.
I defer.
All right.
Corey, tell us about what dreams make. Sorry, I still can't get over what dreams make.
That movie might actually be better.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Okay, what dreams may come? It's about Robin Williams plays a doctor who meets.
Has a funny red nose, dresses up like a clown, uses the gift of laughter to cure his
That's a
patients.
whole nother, better
Oh,
Robin
okay.
Williams movie.
That's Patch Adams.
Patch. Okay, sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's the one I didn't pick. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh no,
should've.
there were lots of them you didn't pick. But go ahead.
yeah. So anyhow, he's in France, I believe. The only way you can really tell is that he's out on a boat and a woman who's in another boat
I
bumps
want
into
to sing
his,
it so bad.
and she starts to speak French, and so that's where you kind of get the clue that they were in France, and so they
Probably
they
a
meet
good tipping point there,
But,
Corey.
well, she thinks that he is French, so that's why she's speaking that way. And then they realize they're both from America, so they end up becoming. They get involved in a relationship. Then it cuts to them getting married, which cuts again to them having 2 kids.
Okay.
Their nanny takes the kids to school, but it's the last time that they see the kids because they die in a car wreck. This sends his wife kind of spiraling downward, and she gets to the point where she has to be checked into an institution because she is just so distraught. He, on the other hand, is trying to deal with it on his own, and he's not at that point where she is. Now, you see all that through cutbacks later on, but there.
So did you start describing the end of the movie first?
No, that's thrown in the middle. That's kind of mixed up with what I'm talking about now.
Okay.
They're at the funeral, and
What you're feeling right now is the confusion that this movie causes when you watch it.
no, if you get confused by this movie, you've got.
It has nothing to do with like baseline confusion. It has to do with the fact that they jump so many different, they jump around so many times. There are tons of movies out there that change the scope of the movie and the direction of the movie and the time frames of the movie that you can still track. This movie is not one of them.
Oh, I've seen this movie, admittedly, several times. It's still in my top 100 of all time, and
Oh, the prestigious Corey's Top 100 on Letterboxd the D. We all bow down.
As long as it suits him, because he won't talk about it if it's against his own problem. Against his own thing.
well, that's the reason why I picked it over any of the other ones, any of his other films. It's because
This is your highest ranking Robin Williams film?
it is.
This is the
Wow.
Yeah. So anyhow, they're at the funeral, and you can tell that that she is really getting. That's where the start of her distraught comes in, and then like I said in the series cutback, you see that she was in an asylum, but then it jumps 4 years ahead, and he's leaving work, and there's a wreck on the there's a wreck in a tunnel. He gets out of his car to go help somebody, and another car ends up killing him. And so now she lost all 3 of her family members, and she's losing it altogether. So
That was for her.
Oh, okay, yeah. So anyhow, while she's having to deal with all of that, he is now having to try and figure out. He knows that he's died. He can't really. He can only see the things that he wants to see, which is her. He can see her in plain existence and wants to comfort her and whatnot, and he can't. But he's got this little guide which he can't see fully because he's not wanting to see him. So he's kind of an image, a blurred image, but he can totally hear him. You, as the viewer, can see that it's Cuba Gooding Jr. And so, as
Show me the money. Oh, sorry,
Ricky!
Wrong movie again.
Ricky!
Radio.
God. So anyhow, she goes at one point. She goes to his grave and is crying, and he puts his arms around her, and she can feel his presence, which just sends her over the top. And he's like, okay, he realizes at this point, I've got to move on. So he moves on into the afterlife. I mean, he was kind of in the afterlife, but he was still kind of like a ghost, if you will.
I believe that's called purgatory.
No, not so much. Purgatory is like, you don't know, you're stuck. You're not going to heaven, you're not going to hell, you're just stuck there. Allegedly. I've never been there. I don't know.
Again, this is one of those things where him being between heaven and earth, being able to still be with her, see her, that was his purgatory.
Okay. So anyhow, he moves on.
Vic was a little slow. You literally just described what I said. When I said, so he's in purgatory, you said no. Then when you described purgatory, you described exactly what he was doing. He's wandering the earth, seeing what he wants to see.
A ghost. A ghost is different than purgatory, in my opinion.
No.
He wasn't a ghost. He was a soul.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a displaced
stuck
soul.
between... This isn't the Halloween episode, Corey.
So anyhow, he walks through the tunnel. He sees the light. He moves on.
Hold on.
No.
That's for Vic.
That's for me.
It's a little harder than it looks, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly. We need to come up with a number system so I know exactly which one you want from me.
That'll two like that. That'll be wah, wah, wah,
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's like I said. If I make it easy. I make it look easier than it is. Folks. I really
It's
do.
like
I'm
pointing to the
pretty
blind
good.
guy.
I'm right there, just ready. And then every now and then, this one used far less, but it's still there too. So,
All right.
Go ahead.
So anyhow,
So he's leaving purgatory.
yeah, he moves on and
Say it.
Purgatory.
No, hey, he's leaving purgatory.
He's leaving purgatory.
There you go.
All right.
So anyhow, when he quote unquote wakes up, he realizes everything around him is like made of paint, and that's what the whole environment is. And Cuba's character tells him that's because that's what you're until you become comfortable with everything, that's the way you'll see everything. And then once he starts to imagine what he wants to see and feel, then everything becomes whole, if you will. So everything is beautiful. And
How many people were painting up strip clubs? I want to see titties and ass.
Nope. All he saw was bitches and a dog.
So thank you for bringing up the dog. His dog shows up, who died. They showed in a flashback that their dog had died previously. The dog shows up.
I'm starting to think it's this lady. I'm starting to think it's her.
She
The dog died?
She cut the brake lines on the car, killed her kids.
Yeah, or she's just bad luck.
Yeah, it might be the bad luck.
Keep
thing.
her away from Cubs games.
So Cuba helps him through this whole process of dealing with the afterlife, and then he has to go away. I guess time. They say time is irrelevant, but he ends up sleeping at some point. And when he wakes up, there's a woman that's there to greet him.
There's a ton of shit in this movie that's irrelevant, and then they still do stuff that makes no sense.
Well, anyway.
And he was about to agree with me.
No, I wasn't. So anyhow, she starts to guide him. She shows him, this is what my afterlife looks like, and it's all these different people are floating around. There's a big staircase and a body of water, and everything is real
Totally
nice
a fucking
and beautiful.
MC Usher picture.
Yeah, very similar to that. So
original.
it's at this point that he starts to remember playing chess with his daughter, and that she had this set that's on her table of people that were hanging there that were floating and stuff, and he starts to realize that everything here is everything that was in that collage. And then as she's taking him on a boat, again, another boat, he realizes that girl, or the woman that's giving him the tour, is actually his daughter. And she's like, yeah, when you're in the afterlife, you can take whatever form that you like. And she said that you saw, when we took a trip to Singapore, you saw the flight attendant and you thought she was really exotic looking or whatever, so that's why I took this form. And then it cuts to him, it cuts back, and it's his daughter. Brad, as somebody who has a daughter, that whole thing, between that and the funeral, you'll lose it. I know you said you don't cry.
Yeah, we talked about this off mic earlier. I'm not a big crier unless I'm drunk. If I'm drunk, then I let them go. I'll cry, but it's always about random weird things.
Well, you will cry, because I hadn't actually. I've seen this movie a few times, and I had never cried before. And I actually did this time, and because I have a daughter, and so I would, it's hard not to pull in, real life into what you're seeing on screen. Yep, that's all right. I'll take the hits on that. I don't give a shit. So anyhow, then she says that Cuba's character is actually his son. That's the form that he took, which is the younger version.
Because he always wanted to be a black man.
Because Black Lives Matter.
He 100% support from the son.
Because that is the younger version of the doctor that Robin Williams was interning for, or was he was his mentor, doctor mentor, when he was starting out as a doctor, so he took the younger form. So, as all this goes on, he ends up going to sleep again, and when he wakes back up, Cuba is there and says, I've got something to tell you. And he says that Annie, who was played by Annabelle Sciorra, she killed herself. I know. She's killed herself. And he's like, well, at first he thinks that's great, because he gets to be reunited with her. I know to say it's great that she's dead, but he gets to be reunited with her. But he's like, no. He's like, when people kill themselves, they go to hell. He's like, well, I'll go get her, because they realized that they're actually soulmates, because she painted something after he died. She painted something, and he could see it. It showed up in his. They
literally beat you over the head with this soulmate thing. Like, it's constant. Oh, we're soulmates. She's my soulmate. He's my soulmate. Soulmate. Like, constantly do it.
So anyhow, they end up. He's like, you can't do it. He's like, I'm gonna do it. I can do anything here. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So he's like, all right. So Cuba goes to get somebody that can help take him there, which is played by Max von Sydow. Now, as I said, that you can take any form. Well, Max von Sydow is actually the Cuba Gooding Jr.'s older version of himself. I know this is for me to explain it can be a little weird, but it's the older version, and he chose to be a white man. I'll let Vic comment or not on that one. The black man wants to be a white man.
Yeah, because he know he wouldn't die. Yeah. He didn't have to worry about cops in heaven driving up and being like, "Oh, you're a black man walking around in heaven. Boom, boom, you're gone." We didn't want that shit happen. So he's smarter than all of us.
So he ends up. The three of them end up.
For Vic again.
So the three of them take a boat to hell, but only two of them can go in, and Cuba says, okay, I'll have to step back, even though when they were still alive, Robin told his son, I will go through hell with you, I'll fight through hell with you for whatever. And Robin really wanted his son to help, to be there, but he chose to take Max von Sydow's character. So they go through what's a crazy sea of their version of hell. I mean, at one point there's just land and all these people's heads and hands are sticking out, and he's got to go through, and walk through all these people, these souls, if you will. And at one point, he finally sees Annie, and he runs to her. The ground gives out, and he ends up in her version of hell, which is her in their house. Everything is dilapidated. She's miserable, and Max tells her, "I'm really surprised you got this far. I can't believe it, but you can't stay in there for very long, or else you will become part of her thing." He goes in there, tries to talk to her, comes back out, and he says, "You're right. That was almost too much, but I've got to stay here." And he attempts to stay with her, and he starts to come down. He physically comes down. His emotions are taking too much of a toll on him, and she realizes what's going on because I guess she's now seeing him as he once finally saw Cuba's character, and she perks up and it's like, don't die. So then they're spun back into his version of the afterlife, and they're all able, after talking with the new versions of the kids tell them, go ahead. All right, then, fine. I'm all right. So anyhow, there was a mention of reincarnation earlier in the movie, and the kids tell them, go ahead. They're soulmates. You'll find each other again. So they go back into real life. They're reincarnated, and they find each other again, and they live happily ever after.
They found each other again as what? How old were they?
Maybe 6 or 7.
They were 4 or 5 years old. How do you know they lived happily ever after?
Because that's what the movie is.
So no, that was for the plot. I'll give you your time. Now you have a second to explain why it's better than Aladdin.
For me,
it'd be easier for him to do if he watched Aladdin.
Yeah. Obviously, I told them ahead of time I didn't get to see Aladdin, but that's okay. I mean, I know the premise of Aladdin. To me, this movie, starring Robin Williams, and this is his movie. Aladdin, on the other hand, is not starring him. Yes, he's in it, but he's not first build. He's not second build. He's third build. I mean, you've got Aladdin and Jasmine.
What?
Aladdin and Jasmine
No,
are the main
are you
characters.
to the voice cast? He's first.
Yes.
You think the dude from Full House is getting booked over Robin Williams? You think they go, Disney's new animated film starring fucking Scott whatever?
Okay, something that I was keeping for my own thing
here's the
is
thing.
they actually designed Genie after Robin Williams from the get-go before he even agreed to do the show.
But here's the thing, though. The movie is not about Genie. The movie is about Aladdin and Jasmine. Those two characters are number 1 and 2. I don't care how it's listed on IMDb or anywhere else. Those are your two main characters. Genie is third.
There is
And
nobody
you can
more
almost
important
make-
in that movie than
You
Genie.
can almost make an argument that Jafar is
There's-
third
you're
because he's
full
the
of it.
antagonist.
You're full of it.
But it's a Robin Williams movie. People don't look back and go, "Oh yeah, I remember
Okay,
Aladdin with Steve from Full House."
Look up Robin Williams' top grossing movies, and see what comes up
Well, of course it's going to be. It's
under
animated.
his name.
Animated
It doesn't matter. It's under
always
his
make
name.
more movies.
My
more
point
money.
is, it's under his name.
It doesn't matter.
He's like the most iconic character in the movie.
My argument is the fact that my movie is starring him. That is his film. Yes, he's in Aladdin, but he is not the.
The
top
genre
movie
wasn't
is
the
not
genre.
about
This
him.
competition with this event was not about where they sit in the cast list. It was about movies with Robin
He would
Williams
be
in
first in the cast list. I can't.
I think it's
Gilbert
like-
Godfrey, then Robin, and Gilbert Godfrey Disney movie, huh?
The movie is not about his character. The movie is about Aladdin and Jasmine.
No, but he's the most. He's not. It's not
Yes,
like he just did
yes,
a
He's the
cameo.
most famous. Yes, he's the
And
most
it's like,
famous.
but it's not okay. I would get that if like he had just done a cameo in the movie, but like the most popular song from the movie is his.
The movie is not about his character. My movie is about his character. It's all about
Okay.
his character.
All
That's the point I'm trying to make.
All right, Vic, tell us about Aladdin, starring Steve from Full House and Gilbert Godfrey, and don't forget
named Robert.
Jack Angel.
Yeah. And then there was this little known actor named Robin Williams who had a bit part in the whole movie. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. This really, you really are a person who did not like Aladdin. You didn't think Aladdin was like one of the greatest movies that Robin Williams ever participated in?
Honestly, I've only seen parts of it, and I was never really that, like, oh, this is a great movie. No, not really.
To be fair,
he
was 40 when it came out.
Exactly.
In 1992, which is actually when Aladdin came out, it was Disney's 31st animated feature. And again, the premise of the movie is about a orphaned street rat, is what they refer to him as, in Agrabah. And he was basically a thief and a beggar's, like kind of like the what do they call him, the Robin Hood of the town. He'd steal and share his food with the kids and things like that. And one day, because the princess who was promised to be married to some prince of the Arab world who never really wanted to have to be forced into marriage, she escapes from the castle and decides to check out the city on her own because she's never been permitted to do so. So she starts kind of scouting around the city, and she bumps into Aladdin when she uses her Arab privilege to take an apple from a vendor and hand it to a little kid who was about to cut off her hand when Abu, the monkey, and Aladdin stepped in to save her life. He proceeds to take her up to his palatial, broken down pad that has a great view of the castle, and explains to her, he doesn't know that she's the princess at all, and he's just talking to her about how one day he wants to be a prince and he wants to live in a castle like that. And then he gets accosted by the royal guard who are after him because the royal vizier, whose name is Jafar, decides that he needs Aladdin to help him obtain his dream of becoming the most powerful man in the world. And to do so, he needs to acquire a magic lamp, which is hidden in a magical cave that only the purest of heart can enter. So he finds Aladdin to be that person, and he
isn't it a Black Panther cave? Isn't it?
I don't know if it's supposed to be a tiger or a panther. I think it's actually supposed to be a tiger.
Oh, well, but it was black.
Well, I was watching it, so I made it a Black Panther. It did have an earring, so. So Aladdin gets basically accosted by the royal guard and is forced into prison. And Jasmine is informed that he's been beheaded by Jafar because he didn't know that he hadn't actually kidnapped the princess, because that's what he told everybody. So he talks Aladdin into going into the Cave of Wonders, disguised as an old man that was also imprisoned in the dungeons of Agrabah. He gives them one instruction when they get there to bring back the lamp, and the Cave of Wonders gives him one instruction, which is not to touch anything. And him and Abu, which was his first mistake, taking the monkey in with him, proceed into the Cave of Wonders, which is full of riches and gems, until they find the lamp with the help of the flying carpet that helps them find the lamp. So as they are about to exit, he gets the lamp. He's about to turn around to leave, and Abu finds this gigantic ruby that he decides he's going to grab and sets off the booby trap that's designed to kill everybody for touching the Cave of Wonders goods. The flying carpet helps them get out of the cave. It helps them get to the entrance of the cave without dying, and then they get trapped inside. The lamp, originally, the old man had actually grabbed it from Aladdin as he was trying to get out. He was asking to help him, and he kept telling them to hand him the lamp, so he put it in his pocket, and Abu grabbed the lamp as the Cave of Wonders was closing down around them. Didn't know what to do. They were trapped, and they decided he rubbed the lamp. He said there was something written on it, and out pops Genie, who is played by Robin Williams, the underrated cast member of this entire movie, because it's not about him.
It's not.
So he gives him a little tutorial about how genies work, because he can't believe that he's actually found a genie. And Aladdin, being a pretty smart, streetwise kid, manages to sucker Genie into getting him out of the cave without using a wish. When he thinks that he's actually used, Genie actually considers it to be a wish. He figures out that Aladdin's tricked him. Aladdin decides that he really wants to be with the princess, but he knows he can't unless he's a prince. So he figures out, I'm going to wish to be a prince, and Genie makes him a prince. That deserves a moment of silence just to listen to those songs.
Hey, clear the way in the old bazaar. Hey, you, let us through. It's a bright new star. Oh,
Is this like when did they stop doing this kind of animation?
Make way.
I mean,
The last one was Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Before they went into like the whole
Pixar.
It started.
yeah. That's
It
another Robin Williams
sort
song
of
too, isn't it?
declined around the time of Toy Story.
Yeah.
Disney tried to make a couple things, and then they stopped for a while, and then they tried to come back with Princess and the Frog. But by that time, all their experienced animators had left, so they only had a skeleton crew of guys that were still traditional 2D animators, guys like Glenn Keane and Adam Dykstra, who had worked on Tarzan. Some of that crew was left. The rest of them kind of dissipated.
And now they're out of work.
And
I know. They're working.
interesting enough, you know so much about this because weren't you an artist for Disney for a while?
I never worked for Disney.
Oh, you
I
didn't
did
work directly for
animation, but I never worked for Disney.
Just freelance stuff.
I did freelance stuff.
So you know like how all this all works.
Yeah, I know how it works. I know some of the Disney stuff. I have one of my friends did work for Disney, so I got the inside scoop on some of that stuff. But a lot of those guys moved over to 3D and just started doing direction for not 3D with the glasses, but Toy Story type animation. So that's what happened with a lot of the 2D guys.
Yeah. So it kind of put a crimp on these movies coming out anymore. So, moving on. So he turns him into a prince and gets him the royal entourage that he deserves, and he escorts him to the city. Again, Jasmine is not keen on the idea of being forced to marry anybody. And when he finally kind of admits to her that he's Aladdin and he's in disguise, and she's like, "Oh, I can actually be with somebody that I actually like," then that's where the romance kind of really goes into overdrive. But in the interim, Jafar, who's the big bad of the movie, has also figured out that if he can manage to stop her from getting married, he suckered the king into believing that she has to marry the royal vizier if she doesn't get married by her 18th birthday. So he's doing everything in his
creepy-ass
power.
plot.
Yeah, because he's a really old dude. It's like Corey
It's a
trying to
drama.
marry an 18-year-old.
Hold on there, Bobbies. Yeah. Another one.
So he again figures out that Aladdin. They eventually figure out that Aladdin is not actually a prince, so he captures him, and he starts his real drive to eliminate the competition. So he gets a hold of the lamp, and by getting a hold of the lamp, he's basically turned Genie into his worst nightmare, because he doesn't want to be a bad genie. He just wants to be free. And Aladdin had promised after he got his first 2 wishes that he would free him. But once Jafar gets control of the lamp, he starts making wishes on how he can basically take over the world. They trick. Because of the rules of being a genie, they sucker Jafar into believing that if you want to be the ultimate power in the world, then you need to be a genie, because you can grant wishes, and that's the ultimate power in the world. So, of course, this idiot falls for it and tells him that he wants to become a genie, and becoming a genie locks him to his lamp, and that's how they sucker him, and he becomes a genie because he gets the all-powerful genie, and quite evil, and he gets shackled and sucked into his lamp, and everyone lives happily ever after, as Corey would say.
I would say that.
Now, the best thing about this movie, again, is Robin Williams. Even if he's not considered the main characters, because Jasmine and Aladdin are, if you did not have Robin Williams in this movie, you would not have this movie. Bottom line. It does not matter where he sits in the cast list. If he was not in this movie, it would not be the Aladdin movie that it
God
is.
damn it. He's first in the cast list.
No, but his argument is that he
I know,
wasn't.
but the cartoon character, they don't list the cartoon characters on those movies. It was the voice actor.
I would agree
right?
that he's not the main character.
Correct.
But he's definitely the biggest star and the biggest draw.
And if you name a character in a movie, okay, if you take your character out of that movie, okay, then that he's not in the movie, right? The movie would not be the same without him in this movie, correct? Making him because he's the main character. Yes, as the main character. If you took him out of that, the movie would not be as good. Correct?
Well, of course, because then you don't have a main character to follow around.
No, I'm not talking about removing the character. I'm saying put somebody else in there.
Oh,
Put another anybody in there. It's not going to be the same movie. If you try to put any other actor in this character slot as Genie, there is no way this movie would have ever made as much as it made.
My argument isn't that nobody else could play that part. My argument is that he's not the main character. The plot does not revolve around his character. My plot revolves around my character. He's in almost every scene.
As is he almost in every scene of this.
No, you only mentioned him in your whole plot synopsis that you gave. You only mentioned him like twice. And that was just that he found him. He rubbed a lamp. He came out. You mentioned that, and you mentioned the fact that Genie was kidnapped and was made to look.
That he turned him into a prince. Yes. He gave him one of his best desires. That he got him out of the cave.
But again, they had somebody else. I mean, hell,
who?
He wasn't even in. Who? I don't think he was in the second one. And I think there was a TV show too, if I remember right.
I think that actually just goes to prove his point that. You're talking, you put somebody else in there, it wouldn't be as good, and you just proved that because, and they proved that when they used Dan Castellaneta, who plays Homer, is in the second one playing the Genie. Not nearly as good. He's a great voice actor, but not nearly as funny as.
Literally, this movie. They gave him this character and said, "Here's what we want you to do." And how many other people in an animated movie have ever had this honor? For Disney to say, "We're not giving you a script. We're going to give you some ideas of what we want to do and what we want to have involved in this movie. You do the voices, figure out what it is, and we'll animate this behind your voice. Not you do." You do your voice for the animation we've created. They created animation based off of the characters that he came up with and added them to the movie.
Again, my point, though, is that the plot does not revolve around him.
What does that have to do with him being in the movie? These are movies that had Robin Williams in it. That was the whole point of this whole challenge, was let's pick movies that have Robin Williams in it. Robin Williams is in this movie, correct? Correct?
Yes.
And Robin Williams is in your movie, correct?
Yes.
Then it fits. They're like trying to cast him down because if the movie doesn't revolve around him, as you say, has nothing to do with it.
Well, I'm just going to keep saying the same thing over again. You're going to keep saying the same thing over again. So.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
It's commercial time. All right. Bob East, our guest, where can the people find you at?
Artofbeast.com, Facebook, Art of Beast, Bob East. You can look for our movie Pit Fire of Hell on Facebook. Just search Pit Fire of Hell.
And Twitter?
Twitter at Art of Beast.
At Art of Beast. Vic?
You can find me online at Black and Angry, playing video games all day, all night. You can also find me on social media at MillerKing51.
Corey?
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at NKOGonzo.
And you can find me at BradScottComedy.com and at BradScottComedy and comedian Brad Scott on Facebook. You can find the show at The Showdown Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And the Showdown Podcast on Facebook. Click like somebody should.
And also, if you're listening on Podomatic or Spreaker or Stitcher or iTunes, please give us a review.
Yes, rate and review. We'll give away some cool prizes, nostalgia prizes. We'll send you a free prize if you give us a review or rating on iTunes, Stitcher, or Podomatic.
Recommend us to your friends.
Yeah, and if you have any ideas of shows that you'd like to hear us compete against you can always email us at theshowdownpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you're listening on YouTube, please find us on one of those other platforms as well too, and subscribe to us.
All right, let's get back to the show and get the results for our Robin Williams Celebration of Life exhibition match.
Does anyone else feel dirty after all that shameless plugging?
Hey, this is Rupert from Survivor, and you're listening to the Showdown Podcast. Yeah!
I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? I can open.
All right, welcome back to the Showdown Podcast. It's our Robin Williams Celebration of Life exhibition match. And we probably should have gone with the Alibaba song since it was a Robin Williams song. I didn't even think about that. But this is like one of the more popular ones.
You can do that one later.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
We've just heard the arguments. And Bob, do you have your winner?
I do.
Okay, so we're going to start with Bob. And now remember, this is for charity. She's still sitting over there naked.
And before he goes into it, I want to say that I already feel like my head's on the chopping block because Brad already had a clip from the movie ready to go during Vic's time on the mic.
I actually just looked it up while he was talking about it.
And it just happened to play right in line with what he was talking about. So, but carry
So
on.
you knew I had to come across it at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happens when you actually know and watch the movie.
All right, why don't we let our guests fucking talk?
All right.
All right, Bob.
Okay, I'm going to have to go with Vic and Aladdin for a couple of reasons. First of all, the brilliant animation of Eric Goldberg on the genie character is unbelievable. But more than that, too, just based on the description, I was swayed by Vic. The only thing more boring to me than the movie What Dreams May Come was Corey's description of the movie What Dreams May Come. So, give the victory to Vic this time.
Bob East spitting fire today here.
I know. I don't think I've ever been attacked like that by the guest. Brad, yes, all the time.
So, okay. Yeah, that was pretty boring. But
Well, we know where this one's headed.
No, I will say this.
You
because
never know where his is going, so you can't say
that's
that.
True.
I will say this. When you did describe kind of the premise, it was very kind of intriguing and interesting to me. But then when you explained that premise, like when you talked about how like he was going to go into hell to get back his wife, I was like, I kind of identify because I feel like I've been going through hell listening to this description of the movie. So I felt like a connection to Robin Williams' character, Chris Nielsen, in the movie. And but then when you described what it was with him going through hell, it was just like another thing. Like, oh yeah, I definitely don't want to see that movie. So the winner, undisputed, unanimous, Vic Miller. Genie in a bottle of Colt 45 takes home the victory. Aladdin wins a sweep.
Yep, saw that
And you should have saw that coming when you picked this movie. Like, why would you pick this movie?
I told you, it's in my top 100. And you know...
How is this your highest rated Robin
I would
Williams
hate to
movie?
see the rest of that 100 if this is...
You can look for it on Letterboxd.
I'm trying to figure out, like, all of the movies that Robin Williams has done, this particular movie is the one that ranks higher above everything else.
Did you notice him trying to do the whole sympathy argument there at the end? I mean, Brad, with you having a daughter.
Yeah.
I just would assume you're going to vote for me on this
history
movie.
of movies.
Yeah.
Movies have been made since the
he
20s, and
wrote
this
a
is in the
corner.
top
Garbage.
100.
He's got so many different movies, like, and it stretches so many genres and like so many facets of his
I
character.
wouldn't even put this in my top 100 Robin Williams movies if he's even made that many.
Well, quite honestly, when I was trying to decide what I was going to pick, I looked at the list, and I couldn't believe how many non-comedy films that he did.
Yeah, and he had some really good ones, too.
And most of which I hadn't seen. To be honest, I
That's
hadn't really
kind of
watched.
the point of this, though. Like,
I
that was your chance to like dive into some good Robin Williams
Yeah.
shit, rather than just going to the normal chopping block.
Okay, here I'm gonna just read off Robin Williams movies, and we can count how many we would have much rather have heard about.
Oh, boy.
The one Dream Like Mrs. Doubtfire, Good Will Hunting, Dead Poets Society,
Great movie.
Hook, Jumanji, Good Morning Vietnam, 1 Hour Photo, The Birdcage, Awakenings, Patch Adams, Night at the Museum.
Oh no! Well, you can't use Light at the Museum because he's not a main character.
and I was
World's
I thought
Greatest Dad, Jack, Death to Smoochie.
I thought about Death. It was between Death to Smoochie and this one.
You should have gone Death to
That's a
Smoochie.
Smoochie.
Yeah.
I gave him a thumbs down on
Right,
Facebook
as
when
soon as
he
he said
said the
it.
name, and he's like, "Just wait, I'm gonna bore him into
I was
submission."
waiting because I thought his second one would have been Aladdin because he likes to do that shit. But I was surprised when it ended up being this. I was like, I ain't
Popeye,
saying a word.
hell,
Popeye
Happy
was
Feet,
terrible, though.
Man of the Year,
Popeye was so bad it almost rounds back.
The Final Cut. That's a good movie. Have you seen that?
I haven't
Yeah,
seen that
it's
one.
been a while, but I've seen it.
Yeah. License to Wed. All of these would have been better selections than. But I will say this: you did give us "Wet Dreams Make Me Come." So,
Yeah.
so
Something good came out of this movie.
that's for you.
Thank you.
But you didn't get a win.
I know.
So Corey, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
I assumed you would want to talk to Bob East about the movie that you guys were in.
Okay.
You know what? I
gotta-
just
you
gave
gotta-
you a Zelda sound, and I gotta follow it up. And you didn't even give yourself 5 minutes. You didn't even give yourself 5 minutes.
I didn't. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know you were going to jump to me.
But it's the only thing we were doing after the results.
I am.
Oh no, we're not. Oh no, I fucked this all up. This was all me. We're supposed to talk about Robin Williams stuff.
Yes.
So let's talk about our
I'm
favorite.
going to bump and ump you.
You know what? You know what? It's no one's immune, Bob. No one. So let us. It is Robin Williams' birthday, kinda. I mean, yeah, technically it's still a birthday, right? Even after you die, 'cause
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's not a living birthday, but it's a
Memorial
birthday.
birthday.
And what did Robin Williams mean to you as a kid, Bob? Or just
Or
in
as
general,
an
what
adult.
did he mean to you?
You know, the first time I ever saw Robin Williams was on Mork and Mindy.
Me too.
And
Yep.
hilarious, just blew me away with his hilariousness.
As a spin-off.
From
Yeah,
Laverne
and
and Shirley.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Happy Days.
From
From
Happy,
Happy
Days.
Days.
He showed up
Yeah.
on Happy Days, one
and just-
episode.
Just
Blew
blew me
him away.
away with the way he just seemed to spontaneously burst out comedy. Reminded me of Jonathan Winters a lot.
Yeah.
In that same way, and then didn't really follow him a whole lot other than watch his stand up a bit, and then of course Aladdin again. Going back to that was another like cornerstone
moment.
point for seeing Robin Williams because at the time I was doing animation locally, independently, and that movie came out and it just blew me away.
Vic, what about you?
So I think.
Oh wait, first real quick, what's your favorite Robin Williams movie of all time? Not a gun to your head, but you got to pick one.
I would probably just have to pick Aladdin, just
Aladdin?
because the combination of
Oh, yeah, it will
his
be-
vocal
especially being
work and the
artistic,
animation
yeah.
work that's involved there.
Vic?
So, actually, Robin Williams for me, like, I remember when I was younger watching The World According to Garp, and I was like, Jesus, this dude is weird. But then, like, I saw him, I watched him on Mork and Mindy so much, and, like, so different shows like that, and realized, like, he showed me that it was okay to just be an eternal kid. Like, to be happy and crazy and, like, not have to really conform to being that typical stand-up
While
adult.
ironically being miserable.
Ironically enough. But I didn't notice that. Like, you didn't, like, not a lot of people knew that he was going through all that for most of his life. Like, and later on in his years, yes. But, I mean, he was going through that all of his life, and hardly anyone knew about it because he was such a positive
What cocaine will do
force.
for you. Vic, favorite Robin Williams movie?
Again,
No.
I have to go with Aladdin.
Go Aladdin, okay.
Yep.
I thought you were going to
All
say
the
I
way.
can't pick one, but yeah. Corey?
My favorite movie is Good Morning Vietnam. No, just kidding.
Oh, yeah, What Dreams May Come. We know, yeah.
Yeah.
What did Robin Williams mean to you other than you shitting on his legacy in this episode?
Like Bob, the first time I saw him was on Mork and Mindy. I remember as a kid on the show, he would sit down on the couch, but he would sit on his head. And I did that as a kid naturally because I thought it was funny. So that's where I started, and then going as I grew older, the stand up, and I never, like I said before, I never really watched his movies. Most of them were dramatic. I wasn't really into dramas, and so they didn't really appeal to me. It wasn't until probably after high school that I actually started watching some of them.
But we all know that you don't really know how to judge something whether than a comedy or drama. So he's like, I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire, you know, it's about a man who is in drag trying to secretly spy on and stalk his ex-wife and get after her
To
kids.
me, Mrs. Doubtfire was in that same boat as Independence Day and Twister, where it was just talked about so much. Hold
Really?
on. Yes. It was.
the hell?
Have you never seen that either?
What?
Mrs. Doubtfire?
Parts of it, yeah.
Nobody else gets that statement either, dude.
Well, it's because it was so popular, and it was just, to me, I think it just became overpopularized, and I just never, I didn't really
he
feel
was
like
that
watching
actually
emo.
understand that when something is so popular and all you hear about is that movie, blah 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 blah, you're like, I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to see it. I'm sick of people
It's like when they
talking
play a
about the
song too
Matrix
much.
or something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure the Matrix is fabulous, but I got so tired of hearing about the Matrix, made me never want to watch it.
See, I'm not alone. Independence Day was the same way until just a few weeks ago when we did the episode on that. I never saw it all the way through until then, and because of that. So Mrs. Doubtfire was kind of the same way.
Did he vote yes for Independence Day?
I did, yeah.
So you realize what you're saying here is
I
you
kinda wonder
fucked
how-
up by not watching these.
I kind of wonder how Mrs. Doubtfire would play out now with all the transgender stuff going on. Whether the jokes.
Well, we wouldn't have to worry about what
fly.
bathroom to go in at
Yeah,
least.
that's true.
Brad, what are your thoughts?
Wait, though, but outside of What Dreams May Come, next favorite Robin Williams movie,
Probably
out of his good ones.
Probably Death to Smoochie.
Death to Smoochie? All right. Robin Williams, I loved as a kid. Mrs. Doubtfire is one of my favorite movies. Aladdin was one of my favorite movies. I loved Hook. And again, when I got even older, I remember buying 1 Hour Photo on DVD at Walmart, never having seen it just because it looked interesting to me. And I loved that movie. And it actually made me really start going back. And I never really watched a lot of his dramas up until that just because it's not like today where you can access any movie at any time.
1 Hour Photo was a great movie.
Yeah, and I started going back and looking for more of his dramatic stuff, and that was the first time I saw Dead Poet Society. It showed it to us in high school, but I always slept during movies in high school. And just really respect him as an actor, and as someone who even still battles depression, finding that out about him made him a little more special to me. Just because it felt like it was somebody I could relate to.
Right.
Just both of those aspects. And pretty much every movie I've ever seen him in, I've liked until I heard about What Dreams May Come.
Brad, I'd like to ask you, how did he impact you? Because you do stand-up, and clearly he's a stand-up comedian.
I have not
Was there
seen a
an
whole
impact
lot of his
on you at
stand-up.
all, or-
I've seen some of it, but no, not really. He's too high energy.
Right.
I like watching him.
Sure.
But as far as like all my career, no, I wasn't one of those comedians that was affected by him as a comedian. Just more outside of that.
Sure.
Like the stuff off stage. How he handled being depressed and then still facing people and making sure he didn't come across that way. That impacted me more than anything on stage.
You know, when I heard when he did die, I heard a lot of comics were saying that how he used to always come. I forget which club it is in California.
Comedy Store?
Comedy Store, yeah. I used to come by there all the time and would just hang out, and sometimes would get up on stage with people, during the night. But he was really respectful about it. He wasn't one of those where he felt like he had to. It's like, I'm a superstar. I should get in there. So yeah, you kind of learned a little bit just from their stories. So bringing it.
So Brad's favorite Robin Williams
I
movie
thought you
doesn't
said
matter?
it. No. I thought you said it already. But go ahead.
What did you think I said?
I don't know. I thought you named it.
So you couldn't think of a movie I said that was my favorite, but you were just positive, or did you just forget and you tried to cover it up with a bullshit excuse of I thought you already said it.
That was the part where I was pretending I was listening.
Yeah, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay.
After all of you shat on it, it is a good fucking movie and still holds up. Look for it on a future Survivor Series episode. I'm going to make Corey watch it.
All right. So as we said, Bob has a movie that just came out. It's on DVD.
It's on his shirt?
It's on his shirt, yes.
It's a cool shirt.
And there's a couple people that in this room that were in it. One, I think probably the best scene in the movie has
75% of this room was an asshole. Guess who the 25% is? Go ahead.
We couldn't afford you.
You
Your
know what?
agent turned us down.
Vic, quit telling people you're my agent. That was for Bob.
Probably my favorite scene in the movie involves a drive-in theater. Yeah, so... Oh, wait, that's...
Is that where you...
That's...
Corey
that's where
played...
but tell us about it,
Yeah, the movie is... it's called Pit Fire of Hell. It's a horror anthology. It's really... Pit Fire of Hell is an analogy of how your life can be going a certain way. Everything can be going great. Suddenly, everything sort of goes wrong, and it feels like everything has gone to hell, like you've fallen into this pit fire of... I'm just fucking with you.
I was actually going to ask...
Bunch of boobs and blood.
I was about to say,
serial
this is not the same
killers.
movie I remember
Slashers.
seeing.
I was going to ask if this was based on his first experience on the showdown. You think everything's going well?
Yeah, it's an anthology horror comedy.
I wasn't really sure if that was the ultimate meaning, but I just didn't see it when I was watching, so I was like, all right.
Bravo to these two for not fucking it up.
Yeah, so it's an anthology of horror tales. We have a group of college kids who are given a writing assignment, and they're each is going to write a horror tale, and so that's what it is. Corey came in and played a great part for us at the drive-in. We had a drive-in sequence where he's just a
crotchety
lazy
lazy.
concession stand employee.
Well, when you got only a couple people out there, you're bored.
Yeah, he was just
How awful of an experience was it to work with Corey on the set? How big of a diva was he?
I did have my own RV, so I demanded that.
Corey was great.
It's Vic who was the problem.
I wanted Corey and the other guy in the scene, Brandon Yates, because they're both movie guys. They both have a lot of knowledge of film. Not that he can pick a good film, but he knows about film.
Apparently.
But so the scene involved the two of them, and they had this little debate about one guy likes this really bad movie, and the other guy doesn't like it because he just wants to go home. So that's why I picked those two guys to play in it. And Corey did a great job. He didn't really he had a couple ad libs that were great. That didn't make it in, but he had.
They
were on the floor, baby.
So good they got taken out.
Well, the problem is there were so many good ad libs, you can't put them all in. So you
don't have to stroke his ego. He does that enough himself.
You kind of have to pick one and just put that one in there.
What was it like working with Vic?
Vic was great. Vic, Vic opened up his arcade that he was managing to let us film in there, because really what we needed to do was film a scene in an arcade. And Vic's been a good friend of mine for a while, so he allowed us to film in there.
Did he give you the condition of you got to put me in the movie?
No, I wanted him to be in it.
That came about before that,
wanted
actually.
him to be in it. And then,
before he even asked that.
Yeah, I wanted him in it. If we could figure out a part, I thought, well, we'll just...
That would be a
and
Corey
his,
move.
Yeah,
I'll do you a favor.
He's got a scene at the beginning where it's the arcade, and then as a spoiler, he's actually at the end of the movie. I won't reveal that, but the scene that you're in, your scene at the end was actually his idea.
Yeah,
he came up with that joke.
We were messing. He said something on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, you know what you should do? This is what should happen."
And then
he's like, "That's a good idea."
I actually thought that was a callback to our show too.
It could have been. He wrote it. It was his joke. So, and then Vic was gracious enough to allow us to do a showing of the film later on in the arcade projector studio room there.
I don't know if you want to mention it now.
I spent 13 years in that damn place. I'm not ashamed of it.
Vic's moved on.
Yes, I have.
It was a fun film to make.
Yeah, it was. And then
took us a bit of time, but
the viewing was hilarious. Like, everybody that was there was just cracking up. And my mother-in-law, this is what got me. So I tell my wife, I'm like, yeah, we're doing a viewing of the movie. I said, my mother-in-law came into town. I was like, bring mom down, bring the kids. And I had not seen any of the movie prior to this.
Pre-warned anybody.
Yeah, I had no idea at all. And Corey, who had seen it, didn't say anything to me, the dick. So my mother-in-law is sitting there next to me, and I'm sitting there next to my wife. And then boobs just start flying all over the place, and I'm like, oh. I look over at my mother-in-law, and I was like, oh shit. And my mother-in-law's just sitting there laughing. I was like, oh, thank God.
Well, I had the same kind of scenario because
your parents were
my
up there,
parents
too.
were there, my sister was there, and my wife was there. And my wife, and none of them had any idea that there was nudity in the film. And my wife had no idea.
Anybody knew,
Yeah,
except for the people that were there
right.
who shot it.
And my wife didn't.
How did she take it when she saw it?
Well, she didn't. She did.
I didn't tell her before.
Kind of like my wife. Like, did you know that?
She
was
just
kind of
rolled her eyes because she knows how I am. She's like, whatever. But the thing, I had to see. There was a scene with the pillow. There was a pillow fight scene with a bunch of scantily clad girls.
That's actually the scene my
mine.
mother-in-law was laughing at the most when I looked over at her.
I'm playing this slasher killer, and I go in and I slasher kill all these scantily clad
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Buy the movie, and you can see the rest of the film. And then I go in and kill them, and then Jason Crow, who was doing the cam work on this, suggested that at the end I'm laying there in the bed with these scantily clad dead women, and so that was the thing I was worried about. Like, how's that going to go over with my wife? And
she wasn't on set when we shot it, but
she wasn't, and she didn't recognize me in the mask. Which is good. So unless she listens to this,
no,
she'll
Corey's
never know.
the killer.
Right.
He played
That's
the
right.
killer.
That was a
I don't know
guy.
who that guy was. But yeah, we had a great time filming it, and a lot of people helped us out. Our director of photography, Chuck Terrell, was great, and Chris Anderson was another film guy.
Birdman?
So, what's that?
No, not Birdman.
Okay. I was like, you got former Miami Heat
Yeah.
player Chris Anderson to work on the film. Be amazing.
We do have Valerie Leone, who was a Hammer girl. She was in some James Bond films. She did a cameo for us. And Conrad Brooks from Plan 9 from Outer Space.
How did you end up getting those two?
Well, the movie is almost a parody of horror films themselves. And one of the things that independent filmmakers do, as you probably know, Corey, I'm not saying you do this, but if you go to any kind of horror convention, people will go over to Tom Savini, give him $50 or whatever. Hey, $50, do a cameo.
Right.
And then next thing you know, they have a movie out. Hey, check out my movie starring Tom Savini.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, no, he's not. He's in it for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So
Corey
we did
would
that.
Never, Corey would never say that.
Right. We did that, but we actually did it as a parody. Because, well, first of all, I wanted those two people in my film because I'm a huge fan of both of them. But the way we did it was we got them to do cameos. And then in the film, the scene that you're in, Corey, at the drive-in, they discussed that, and we actually mentioned them being in another movie. So Brandon talks about Valerie and talks about Conrad Brooks. So we did it as a kind of like parody of what people actually do. We didn't paste their names big over the title.
Yeah.
They're so because we're not trying to sell our movie on their name,
Right.
Which we probably should, but we're not. I don't want to be devious to people and make them think they're going to buy a movie with Valerie Leone and she's in there for a half second.
There's nothing like
something,
I'm a big Jackie Chan fan.
Yeah.
And Jackie Chan will be like a what do they call them, a stunt coordinator for a movie,
Right.
and they'll put starring Jackie Chan,
Right.
And I'm like, where is he in this? He's not in
Yeah.
there, and I'm like watching the credits roll. It's like stunt coordinator or something like
Yeah.
that, where he did like he stepped in to do
He was
like
the stunt
special
double.
effects or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Look, I spent good money on this. He's not even in it.
Well, I can say, at least from my end, that it was fun to shoot.
Yeah, it was.
And maybe we'll see Concession Stand Guy back in a sequel.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the trailer right now. It's just magically stopped on the.
Well, if it's working anything like your YouTube did earlier,
We have an
maybe
annoying.
sit here a while.
There's a sequence with an annoying neighbor who
Oh, that's
is
great. It's so great.
based
It's one of
on my
favorite parts.
actual neighbor,
I'm glad you brought that up because I thought Raymond did a great job.
Raymond Kester. Yeah.
And I also thought that Brian Wilson also did
Yeah.
a great job too.
Yeah, we've got Brian Wilson and Shay Dickerhoff in our Frankenstein's girlfriend.
It
was a throwback
off each other.
Yeah,
like,
they're
so
great.
well.
The Frankenstein sequence was a sort of a parody of the Bride of Frankenstein. Raymond Kester was in this sequence about an annoying neighbor who keeps telling his other neighbor to mow his lawn, which that guy's literally based on my own annoying neighbor who's always saying. And what's funny is I wrote half the script, and the rest of the script I just literally wrote down things that he said to me, like, "You've got some poison oak on my wood pile over here growing over your fence." I'm like, okay.
I can loan you something to take
That's
care
right.
of that.
Yeah, he'd offered to loan me his weed eater.
Yeah, I thought those were two of my favorite ones, and I told them both too. I was like, you guys were great in it. So
I got to sign my first poster as an actual person in a movie. That was pretty cool.
You signed a poster?
Yeah. One of the people that were walking in, like, you have to sign it for me. I was like, that's awesome.
Did you sign it, the black guy?
Yeah,
He's listed in the credits as black guy.
It's the black guy.
I actually did sign it. I wrote my name and I said the black guy.
All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Showdown Podcast. We want to thank our special guest, Bob East.
Whammy.
Thank you for being here. Check out artofbeast.com. Check out Pitfire of Hell. Where can they get a copy of Pitfire of Hell?
You can find a link on our Facebook page, Facebook Pitfire of Hell.
Pitfire
of Hell.
Fire of Hell.
Yeah, there's not too many other Pitfire of Hells out
imagine
there.
there would be.
Yeah.
For Vic Miller, Corey Miller, Bob East, I'm Brad Scott. Thank you for listening to the Showdown. Please rate and review us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Then come and meet his spectacular coterie. Prince Ali, mighty is he, Ali Ababa. Strong as 10 regular men, definitely.
He faced the galloping hordes.
Welcome to the Showdown Podcast. This week's episode is our Robin Williams Celebration of Life exhibition match featuring guest official Bob East. In the Black Lives Matter corner, Vic, Genie in a bottle of Colt 45 Miller with his movie Aladdin, and his opponent in the All Lives Matter corner, Corey, Wet Dreams Make Me Come.
You should have kept going. It was hilarious.
Never cut that.
Fuck up.